Our soonest predecessors experienced transferable sickness, yet before the advancement of networks, infection spread was restricted, as urban areas created and shipping lanes associated them. The limit with respect to illness spread expanded drastically, making plagues and pandemics. Here we investigate various pandemics that have happened from the beginning of time up to the latest pandemic pronounced on March 11, 2020, SARS-CoV-2 COVID-19. History of pandemics. Aryans, we are ready to tell you about this. Thank you for subscribing us. 430 BC, the plague of Athens. A plague struck Athens in 430 BC while it was under siege by Sparta during the Peloponnesian War. Pathogen Salmonella enterica cerevisiae typhi. Outcome 75,000 to 100,000 deaths. 165. The Antonine Plague, plague of Galen. The plague began during the reign of Marcus Aurelius and continued under the rule of his son Commodus. It was described by the physician Galen. Pathogen, the unconfirmed, smallpox, variola virus, or measles, rubeola virus. Suspected outcome, mortality rate of approximately 25%. 249. Cyprian plague. Bishop Street Cyprian documented the suffering and claimed the plague signified the end of the world. Pathogen, the unconfirmed, smallpox, variola virus, or measles, rubeola virus. Suspected outcome, over 5,000 deaths per day in Rome. 541. The Justinianic plague. The first of three plague pandemics. Bubonic plague is a virulent disease that is transmitted by flea bites and by person-to-person transmission when it is in its pneumonic form. New research is beginning to challenge current assumptions and suggests the Justinianic plague's high mortality rate may be exaggerated. Pathogen, Yersinia pestis. Outcome, between 15 and 100 million deaths. 1347. Black Death. The second plague pandemic. It decimated Kipchak Khan Janibeg's army in the Genoese trading port, Kaffa, and spread via Genoese ships to Mediterranean ports. Pathogen, Yersinia pestis. Outcome, 25 million deaths in Europe. 1520. Smallpox. Arrived in Mexico when Spanish forces landed in what is now Veracruz. It began to spread when Spanish troops entered the capital of the Aztec Empire. Pathogen, smallpox, variola virus. Outcome, 50,000 to 300,000 deaths. 1665. The Great Plague of London. The plague continued to create small epidemics, and in 1665, a major outbreak occurred in Europe and England. Pathogen, Yersinia pestis. Outcome, over 100,000 deaths. 68,596 recorded in London, England. 1817. The first cholera pandemic. The first cholera pandemic originated in the Ganges River in India, and disease broke out near Calcutta before spreading to other parts of the world. The seventh cholera pandemic occurred in 1961, beginning in Indonesia and spreading to other countries in Asia, Europe, Africa, and Latin America. Pathogen, Vibrio cholerae. Outcome, 10,000 recorded deaths among British troops suggest hundreds of thousands of deaths across India. 1855. Third plague pandemic. The plague re-emerged in the Chinese province of Yunnan in 1855. It continued to spread, reaching Hong Kong in 1894 and Bombay in 1896. By 1900 it reached every continent, and finally ended in 1959. Pathogen, Yersinia pestis. Outcome, over 15 million deaths. 1875. Measles in the Fiji Islands. Measles has a high mortality rate when introduced to isolated populations. In 1847, Fiji signed an Article of Cession to the British Empire. As part of the process, the most senior chief Kakobau visited Sydney, Australia, where he contracted measles. One of his sons also became ill on the return voyage. Upon their return, all high chiefs of Fiji attended a meeting and subsequently spread the measles virus throughout Fiji. Pathogen, measles. Outcome, over 40,000 deaths. 1889. The Russian flu. The influenza pandemic first peaked in St. Petersburg, Russia, and only 70 days later peaked in the United States. The rapid spread has been attributed to the vast railway networks throughout Europe and more rapid transatlantic boat travel. Pathogen: influenza, possibly H3N8. Outcome: over 1 million deaths. 1918 influenza. The 1918 influenza pandemic was the most severe in recent history. It was first identified in military personnel in the United States in the spring of 1918 and spread worldwide. A unique feature was its high mortality rate in young, healthy people. Pathogen: H1N1 virus with genes of avian origin. Outcome: 50 million deaths worldwide. 1957 Asian flu, first identified in East Asia, subsequently spreading to countries around the world. It is considered the least severe of the three influenza pandemics of the 20th century. Pathogen: influenza, a subtype H2N2. Outcome: 1 to 2 million deaths worldwide. 1968 Hong Kong flu, the third influenza pandemic of the 20th century, believed to have evolved from the 1957 Asian flu virus. Influenza, a subtype H2N2, via antigenic shift. Those exposed to the 1957 virus demonstrated immunity to the new virus, as H3N2 retained the neuraminidase antigen N2. Pathogen: influenza, a subtype H3N2. Outcome: 1 to 4 million deaths. 1981 HIV/AIDS, acquired immune deficiency syndrome. AIDS was first recognized in 1981. It is one of the most devastating infectious diseases, with developing countries suffering the greatest morbidity and mortality. Pathogen: human immunodeficiency virus type 1 HIV/1 retrovirus. Outcome: more than 25 million deaths worldwide. 2002 SARS, severe acute respiratory syndrome. SARS is thought to have spread from an animal reservoir, possibly bats, to civet cat, and first infected humans in Guangdong province in China in 2002. Most cases of human-to-human transmission occurred in the healthcare setting. Pathogen: SARS coronavirus, SARS-CoV. Outcome: 774 deaths. 2009 swine flu. The novel influenza virus was first detected in the United States, spreading quickly to the rest of the world. The virus was different from other H1N1 virus circulating, as few young people had existing immunity, while many people over 60 years of age had antibodies. It is estimated that 80% of deaths occurred among patients under 65 years of age. Pathogen: various strains of swine influenza virus (SIV). Outcome: between 151,700 and 575,400 deaths worldwide. 12,469 in the United States. 2019 COVID-19. On December 31, 2019, the WHO China Country Office was informed of pneumonia of unknown cause, detected in the city of Wuhan in Hubei province. The disease was determined to be the result of a novel coronavirus, later named COVID-19. On March 11, 2020, the WHO declared COVID-19 pandemic. Thanks for staying with Ariyans, subscribing to our channel for next episode.